Hey, Pro-Life Jen, it's Kristan Hawkins. This is a very special episode of the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. I am so honored that you've given us your time to join us today because I have two very special guests. One who's eating a cookie right now, and we'll see how long he's quiet, but he's very talkative, which is really good, right, Hudson? So joining me today is Miss Morgan and her son, 1-year-old son, 14 months, baby Hudson. Thanks, Morgan, for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on the podcast talking about your story with Hudson. You and I met a few weeks ago. I was speaking for a pregnancy center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I remember you came up to me and kind of said, hey, I came here to see you, which sometimes doesn't always mean a good thing in my line of work. I saw, oh, she's got a cute baby in her arms. And then you told me your story, and Hudson got like a million times cuter, like in 1 second. I was like, he might be rivaling my baby's cuteness. So I want you to kind of tell me your story because it was very impactful for me. I shared it with the whole team at Students for Life, and I was so honored to meet you and Hudson. So tell me what happened.
Our story is I was a sophomore in college when I found out I was pregnant. And I was actually in the middle of my finals. You good?
Do that chocolate chip.
I was in the middle of my finals, and I had, honestly, the reason I took the pregnancy test was just to get rid of it. It was just like, someone had it, one of my roommates had it, and I was like, just get rid of it, like, whatever, kind of a joke. Instantly positive. Yeah.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, the shock was unbelievable. And then having come from, very, fundamental Baptist Christian household, it was very much so like instant guilt. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately you hear the narratives of, you have a choice, like you don't have to, you can finish school, you can finish what your dreams were. And being on scholarship at my college, it was a big thing I was facing for sure. Mm-hmm. And I remember the cool part was before I was pregnant and kind of after before I was pregnant and then kind of when I found out I was pregnant, I remember seeing your videos like on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, and just the arguments you made and some of the conversations you had with being respectful but still providing truth. And it was just like this, I guess, subconscious thing that I didn't even realize until somebody had told me, like, you chose life. And I was like, yeah, like,
I did.
Yeah, I did. Like, it was, and then having him has just like healed so many wounds for us and wounds for me. And then being able to see, like, I literally heard your voice all the time when I found out I was pregnant and whenever I was talking with other people, and it was, yeah, I'm choosing life. Life begins at conception. Mm-hmm. And he's worth it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
He's destined for superstardom. That name, that face, look at him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I think that's one of the things you kind of alluded to about being raised in kind of a Christian home. Like, what were those emotions? Because I think this is something that, especially if you haven't experienced an unplanned crisis pregnancy in your life, like, what are those emotions?
Absolutely. So it was very much so, like I said, an instant guilt, honestly, just from, you kind of were taught, just this one.
Sex until you're married.
Yeah, just abstinence. And so then there was a lot of lost in translation. And so then whenever I did find out I was pregnant, it was just this fear and guilt. And then just, I was very scared on what my future was going to look like for sure. And that was, like I said, it was super scary. But
yeah. I mean, do you think that's something that's perpetuated in the culture of like this, you can't be pregnant or become a mother and finish school?
Absolutely. I remember seeing so many other things on Instagram. I was super nauseous, so I spent a lot of time in bed. But I remember seeing other videos and it was saying like, like women across the world are forced to have their babies or, forced into a life that they don't want. And I was just, you know, why? Why does that have to be the narrative? Why can't we have people who work hard and sacrifice for the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be working out for you. So you came from an exam today.
Yeah.
Where are you at now in your educational career? Are you barefoot and pregnant in someone's kitchen with no career opportunities?
No, I'm actually in nursing school. So at ECU, I was working towards nursing, and 2 weeks after I had him, I went to a community college at home, and I started classes. I was pumping in class, going to the bathroom, pouring it out, and I was doing it. And then now I'm actually in nursing school now, and I'm in my first semester. That's awesome. Doing clinicals. So it's very hard work, but like I said, it's so rewarding and so healing that I think people don't realize that. All they see is the fear, but they're not able to see the other side of like how much joy this little smile gives you, and like how much of incentive it is when you do well on an exam.
Yeah, it's not just for you, it's for somebody else, right?
Yeah, like some people don't want to come to class, but for me it's like, no, this is our future.
Yep,
and so a lot of people can't see that.
You tell mom, do good on your test.
Yes.
Right?
Don't mind me, I'm just getting in the trash. Go study.
Did you have conversations with friends or even family members who were like, Morgan, you know, you have a bright future. Don't do this to yourself?
Yeah, I actually had family members and close friends of mine kind of be like, you ruined your testimony. You lost your scholarship. Like, you derailed yourself.
You lost a scholarship?
Yeah, I did. I lost a full-ride scholarship to ECU. So.
Wait, why? Because you were pregnant?
Because I decided to leave, and the curriculum that I was doing, which is nursing, they were kind of like, sorry.
There's no transfers or...
Yeah, I couldn't do anything like that. So I just took my credits, did community college, called a lot of people. I drove up to the school I'm at now and just kind of was like, hey, here's my application. I want to transfer. I want to do this. And they took it, surprisingly. And I actually got a lot of financial aid and was able to do it on my own. It actually worked out to where I'm not having to pay for anything for nursing school now.
Awesome.
So, yeah. It was
I mean, that even makes the decision that you made even more courageous. You know, you walked away from a full ride. It was at Eastern Carolina?
Yeah,
East Carolina University. That's hard. That's hard. What do those friends and family members say now when you're meeting you, Mr. Hudson?
They absolutely adore him. And like,
I never said that. I never said that.
Well, it's a lot of growth for all of us. Like kind of what I said, you know, it's healing, not just for me. It was healing for my relationships with not my family, but my friends, to where they're seeing what we're doing now and they're like, okay, like absolutely, like God's worked this out for even more of your good than we thought or that we could have expected.
Hey, Pro-Life Jen. Did you know we're stewards of a pivotal time in history? With the reversal of Roe v. Wade, we are now faced with a battle in all 50 states for the soul of our nation. The Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities exists to strategically reduce abortion in our neighborhoods by making abortion unavailable and unthinkable. We help leaders, local leaders, create a strategic blueprint to eradicate abortion by first promoting pregnancy resources, which more than 75% of our neighbors don't know exist. 2, exposing the evils of the abortion industry. 3, changing hearts and minds, which we're pretty darn good at. And 4, protecting life and law in cities. When leaders like you are willing to take ownership of your community, not just your campus, but your community, we can create a world where no woman stands alone and where all children are protected. Today, regardless of your age, regardless of your experience level, I am asking you to join us at the Campaign for Abortion-Free Cities and sign up to be a captain, a leader at your church, at your parish, or even your city. You even have free kits to get you started. Just go to abortionfreecities.org and you'll be on your way. You said you saw my videos on Instagram and TikTok, which is so awesome because like I go to campuses that get yelled at. I try to have a calm response. Someone else, Kevin Felicia on our team, films it. He cuts the video. Maybe Mariah on the team films it, cuts it. Then Lydia posts it or Lauren posts it. It's like this whole team effort. Like I can't even post videos on TikTok. Which is I was so excited about your story because I wanted to share it with our whole team. I'm just the pretty face of this act. Let's put it that way. But was there any specific video that like that spoke to you in the kind of those moments of doubt? Like,
I remember watching. I would watch TikTok videos, and then I went to the YouTube, watched the YouTube videos, and it was just kind of this like, kind of like a rabbit hole, and I just would just watch them over and over again, and it was always just like our generation, and it just it made me.
okay,
it made me more, encouraged and felt like I had support in my choice and moving forward for sure. And it felt like I wasn't alone. People were fighting for it too, and fighting for him and girls who were in my situation.
I guess going into that, I mean, how many women do you think choose abortion out of this fear, or because they are being sold that bag of lies that you can't achieve your goals without killing your inconvenient child? Like, do you think that's, I mean, your kind of what you've seen and probably the conversations you've had with friends and family members, have you seen a lot of people maybe have said similar things to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to be in the position to know both sides.
Yeah.
And to see, like, for sure, because I remember seeing one of my friends say that she was like, I became pregnant. And, and then a few days later, she was like, I'm good now. So it was honestly, I saw so many people treat it as just like the common cold and just something you can get an antibiotic for. And that broke my heart. Because, look, we're just seeing him, like,
I know.
He's like, how could you even correlate the two?
I know. Like, how could you ever advocate seeing him? Like, I know. I struggle with that because I meet these students on campuses, and then like they'll ask me questions, I'll prove them wrong, and they'll ask me another question, I'll prove them wrong, and then they're like, "You didn't convince me," and then they walk away, and I'm just like, "How?" Like, but they haven't gotten to meet you. You just need to be out on campuses with me, Hudson. That could be our spring tour. We could be together. I'll just take you. Give your mommy a break just for a few days. Okay?
Said, yeah.
Like he's like, I'm in. I'm absolutely. I know. I guess. What would you say, in knowing all that you know and the experience that you've had? Like, what would you say to a woman or a girl who's in an unplanned pregnancy right now? It's like trying to make that decision. What do I do?
Absolutely. I feel like, honestly, one of the reasons why I do try to, I'm very open about my story, my background, kind of what happened, because I want people to know that there are people, like, I understand. There's people with them, and there are resources. So not only do we have, Students for Life working with legislation and trying to, on that end, there's providing other resources. Like for me, it was Embrace Grace, which was massive for me.
Your church?
It was a church that I started to go to, and then they actually referred me to another church.
Okay.
And
they referred you to another church?
Kind of.
Don't choke yourself.
But yeah, it's like its own independent, and it just kind of works through different churches. And so I went through that, and they provided like baby showers, and then they threw like adoption parties. So women who wanted to choose adoption, they were given the same amount of treatment as women who decided to keep their babies. And that was huge for me. And so
there is help.
There's resources.
Do you feel like you have to ask for it?
No, it's there if you look for it. If you're able to like just pay attention, I think. Not necessarily look for it. If you pay attention. You want this?
You want to go walk? Yeah, I think that was one of the questions I was going to ask you about. As a young woman experiencing unplanned pregnancy, what was the church's response?
So I ended up leaving my home church that I was at, and I grew up going to like a private Christian school, and I have teachers who still won't talk to me.
They won't talk to you?
Yeah, I've had people like just won't acknowledge my existence. But
because you became pregnant?
Yeah, I won Christian Character Award at my school.
And shock you sinned? Like they were shocked that you sinned?
I guess so. But I mean, I feel like that's also evidence of just God's grace as well, because we're all sinners.
Yeah, I know.
Mine's
Like,
just a
why
little
would
bit
they
more.
be like, oh, that makes me so mad.
But on the other hand, there were people who provided support, like the Embrace Grace I went through, like the church I was there, they were so supportive, like giving us, high chairs and, people I never met, like saw my story and who supported pro-life. They were sending him, onesies and stuff like that, and like to offer encouragement. Yeah. Like, not only are we encouraging you or celebrating that you chose life, but we're also trying to encourage you in the next phase.
I love what Embrace Grace does. Our Abortion Free Cities campaign, it's on our student life groups, we'll do like packing nights for like the kids or write the notes to the mamas. I had Amy Ford on the podcast probably about a year or so ago because she released a book about it. And I think it's so, I guess that leads to kind of my last question is, we know your story. We know your success personally in nursing school. You've got obviously this amazing career trajectory ahead of you for you and baby Hudson. But I guess, what is your advice to the pro-life movement? What do we need to do better of helping, especially Christian young women who I feel like the pressure is even greater? Absolutely. Like, what do you think in your view and what your lived experience was that we need to do better?
A lot of it for me was having grace without being condemned, but also grace and not like too much of a celebration, if that makes any sense. So for example, like I morally thought I knew I had sinned. I knew I had not done the right thing, but there was grace through that, and being able to provide, I guess, more resources and keep putting the videos out there and reaching the college students, because just from my experience, like, college students think they know all the things. They think they know all the things, and a little bit of grace and humility goes a long way to realize that you don't. So, and that's one thing, is just to keep having conversations with people.
Hey, buddy, you're back. You want some chocolate chip cookie? Brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Maybe one day they'll sponsor. And there it goes. It's a yum yum. His face is so cute.
I'm glad he's in a good mood. He was so fussy when we met at the dinner.
Oh, yeah, he was so tired. It was like 9 o'clock at night.
He was so tired.
I felt so bad, too, because to be honest with you, my husband was like, you drug us all the way to North Carolina. His exact quote was, why can't you learn how to say no? And he's like, other people know how to say no, but you always say yes to everything. And I'm like, that's not true. I do try to, say no. And so I was like, on the way there, we had gotten there, like, and I was like rushing to get there, and the kids were tired, and there was all this stuff going on. Somebody was sick. And I was like, on the way there, I was like, I really probably need to stop saying yes to so many things. Like, why, God, am I in Winston-Salem, North Carolina? Like, what's, because you think about, too, sometimes at a pregnancy center, I'm like, well, I didn't need to be here. The pregnancy center is doing incredible work. I mean, especially that dinner, the executive director, like, got up there, talked about this amazing work Salem Pregnancy Center does. They do amazing work. I'm now a donor. They convinced me. And I was like, why did you even need me? Like, you didn't need me. Like, you are amazing. You guys are an incredible organization. And then I met you, and on the way home, I was like, touche, God, touche. And so I went home, I told my husband, I was like, let me tell you how my night went. I met Morgan and this baby. And I was like, you know how you always tell me to say no? And he hasn't said since. So this is why you don't say no to opportunities to save lives, right? And talk about abortion, even though it's a thing you're not supposed to talk about in polite company. Oh boy, there goes the camera. Oh, look at him. He's like, ooh, that's attached. Wait, did you see his face? Oh my gosh. Well, Morgan, I just want to thank you for choosing life and being courageous to like give up a full ride scholarship and face the scorn of some former Christian school teachers, for bringing this beautiful baby into the world, and then being willing to tell your story and to be a light for so many other people. So I hope we can get this podcast, and you all watching and listening, we can spread this podcast around and share Morgan and baby Hudson's story so that we can encourage others. I can't tell you how many former Christians I have met in the 18 years of Students for Life, of young girls who will come up and say, I was active in my church. I became pregnant freshman year, sophomore year of college. My dad told me to have an abortion. My dad was an elder or deacon in church, drove me to an abortion facility, and Christians are a bunch of hypocrites. And it's so sad because she's hurting from the abortion. The family's hurting. She's fallen away from her faith. Like, it's just a huge cycle and tragedy. It's unbelievable. So thank you for not facing that cycle and doing the right thing. And we get to go outside and play with baby Hudson a little bit.
Yeah, he's going to love that. He loves being outside.
All right, Hudson, you want to go play outside? You want to go play?
Chocolate all over his face.
All right, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week on Explicitly Pro-Life Podcast. Make sure if you've never shared or forwarded this podcast before, you need to do it now.